A federal judge just delivered a devastating blow to ICE. But here's the twist. This isn't just a setback for them. It's a victory for everyone who values free speech, peaceful protest, and democracy itself. In Oregon, a judge ruled that ICE can no longer deploy tear gas or projectiles against peaceful protesters, journalists, or anyone simply exercising their rights outside an ICE facility. But why should this matter to you? This isn't just another legal case. This could be the start of a larger battle over civil liberties in the United States. And here's the kicker. This could be the beginning of a much bigger shift. So what happens next? Stick around, because the next moves could change everything. Now, this ruling isn't isolated. It's part of a much larger pattern. For years, there have been countless reports of federal agents using excessive force against peaceful protesters, especially outside ICE facilities. In Portland, it's become a hot spot for this kind of tension. But why is this happening now? What does it signal about the state of our democracy? More importantly, what does it mean for the people standing up for their rights? And here's the crucial part. This could be a turning point, not just for Portland, but for the entire nation. If the courts continue down this path, we may see a major shift in how the government handles dissent. But here's the question that nobody is asking yet. What happens if this momentum spreads to other states? The answer could change everything. Let's take a moment to break down the core of this ruling. It's not just about the tear gas or rubber bullets. It's about power. It's about who gets to decide what's acceptable when it comes to protest, to free speech, and to dissent. Judge Simon's decision was clear. Federal agents cannot use excessive force on peaceful protesters, and this ruling is a major rebuke to ICE's tactics. In fact, the judge was adamant, stating that children were among those subjected to tear gas during protests. Let that sink in. Children gasped simply for standing up. This isn't just about a legal battle, it's a moral one. But here's where it gets interesting. Notice what's missing. The judge didn't just prohibit force. He also called out the systemic issues, setting a bold precedent, and that's where the real shift begins. Now, things are escalating quickly. This ruling might seem like a small victory in one city, but the implications are huge. We've seen this before. When the state begins using force against its own people, the consequences ripple out. Think about the 1960s civil rights protests, or more recently, the Black Lives Matter demonstrations. What starts as a singular event quickly becomes a part of something bigger, and that's exactly what's happening here. The court isn't just issuing a decision, it's sending a message. The message: this behavior is no longer acceptable. The problem? It's been happening for far too long, and it's only just beginning to be held accountable. So what does that mean for you? Well, it's simple. If this ruling stands, it could change how the government treats peaceful protests across the country. But here's where it flips. This isn't just about one ruling. It's about what happens next. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. It's not just about excessive force. It's the contradictions between what the government says and what it does. Judge Simon's ruling was a clear condemnation of ICE's tactics. But let's pause for a moment. While the court ruled to prohibit this behavior, ICE's response has been exactly what you'd expect: denial. They continue to argue that their actions were justified. But here's the kicker. Despite all the court's evidence, despite the clear violations of constitutional rights, ICE refuses to back down. This is where the real danger lies, not in the actions themselves, but in the attitude that they're above the law. And that's something the court isn't letting them get away with anymore. But the real question remains: what happens when this battle moves beyond Portland? And then things take a turn for the worse. The legal landscape is shifting fast. Not long after this ruling, we saw a series of developments that further stack the pressure on ICE. First, multiple states are now watching this case closely, with attorneys preparing to file similar lawsuits in their own jurisdictions. Second, the public outrage is growing. More videos surface online showing ICE's ongoing tactics, pushing more Americans to speak out. The momentum is building, and now the courts are getting involved in a way we haven't seen before. But the most unsettling part? The government isn't just fighting back, it's digging in, and that's when things get dangerous. If they manage to drag this out and the courts don't act fast, we could see more chaos, and that's exactly what they're hoping for. What happens if this continues? But this isn't just about the legal battles. It's about the real-world consequences. Think about the people on the ground, the protesters, the journalists, the everyday citizens who are just trying to do what the law allows them to do: speak up, report, and gather peacefully. These aren't radical activists. These are normal people. living their lives, exercising their First Amendment rights. But here's the reality. They're facing unprecedented levels of force. The court ruling may seem like a win, but what happens when the government turns its attention to other cities? Imagine what could happen if these tactics spread nationwide. What does this mean for the average person who just wants to speak out without fear of being attacked? If this resonates with you, drop a comment below. Let's talk about it. But here's the real kicker. This isn't just about one rogue agency. It's about the system that allows this to happen over and over again. Why is it that ICE continues to get away with these actions? It's not just because they're powerful. It's because the system has been built to protect them. From government incentives to public spectacle, these actions are being normalized, and that's what's truly unsettling. It's not just about bad actors. It's about a system that makes it possible for bad actors to thrive. This is the system at work: leverage, fear, and control. The real question is, who benefits from this? And why does no one seem to care until it's too late? So where does this go from here? There are two potential paths forward, and neither one is straightforward. The first is that this ruling could spark a wave of similar lawsuits across the country. Imagine multiple states stepping up, pushing back against federal overreach, demanding the same legal protections for their own citizens. If that happens, we could see a major shift in how the federal government handles protests. On the other hand, there's the very real possibility that this ruling could be reversed or simply ignored, as has happened before. And if that happens, it could set a dangerous precedent, normalizing the use of excessive force against protesters. So what's next? The momentum is building, but the battle is far from over. This is just the beginning. Here's the insight that changes everything. What we're witnessing isn't just a legal battle. It's a fight for the future of American democracy. The ruling in Portland is a wake-up call. It's a reminder that the judiciary isn't just there to interpret the law. It's there to safeguard our rights when others, especially those in power, try to strip them away. This case is a turning point. And while the outcome is still uncertain, one thing is clear: the stakes have never been higher. As the battle unfolds, one question looms large: who will stand up to protect our democracy? If you want to stay updated on the latest developments, make sure you're subscribed, because this is far from over, and we'll be here every step of the way.